Thanksgiving, everyone. We're in our final selection of making some of our recipes. Right now we're going to do our creamy wild rice stuffing mix. Now I've gone ahead and made the creamy wild rice soup part of it. And Charles, you want to come in here? So we've used a package of creamy wild rice soup, and the directions say 5 cups, so you don't have to worry about that. So it was the creamy wild rice soup, 5 cups of water, some garlic, and onion. So I went ahead and simmered for about 50 minutes. And so that's just about ready. Let's go ahead and look at it one more time here. That's doing quite nicely. Now we're gonna, I'm gonna also have gone ahead and chopped up some of the celery because I didn't figure you guys wanted to watch me dice a cup of celery. So Charles, let's come over here and I want to show people an easy way to do celery. Now one thing I want to remind you of is never ever run any celery parts down your garbage disposal, because it gets kind of stringy and it'll wrap around and actually cause you quite a bit of problems. Might burn up your garbage disposal as well as needing a plumber, so don't do that. Now also remember that we're going to need some rough cut celery for our turkey. So you don't have to do this very fancy like. So I've already I've cut the tips off, I've cut the base off. It's a little bit brown, so I'm going to cut this off here. There's that string part I was talking about. Now we need a cup of celery for this dish. So the easiest thing to do here is just take your celery. I'm going to get a different piece because that one's not as pretty as I like. Okay, just take your celery, and in the opens part, just take your knife and cut down. And it doesn't matter if you go straight or not. Okay, so I got a little crooked here, so I'm just going to go here. And you're going to cut these, just run a blade down until it's about the size you like. Okay, we're going to be cooking this down, so I don't want it too small. You just go ahead and dice it. I usually do only one stalk at a time just because it's easier to handle. My cutting board seems to get full faster, and that way I don't have to worry about if I've not cut a vein small enough. Okay, then when you get down to this part, you can just leave this because we're going to need this for the turkey. So we're going to put that over here. And I think this is just about going to be our cup here. And of course, this is a small cup, so it's hard to get the items in here. So we've got our cup of celery. So we're going to come over here now. Now, this particular recipe calls for frying up fresh bacon. Move this back. And I very rarely use fresh bacon. A couple reasons is it makes a mess of your kitchen. And also, it's really quite fatty. And so, but in this case, you needed to crisp the bacon up and you have the grease left over from the bacon. So I'm going to use some ghee. Get a spoon. So the directions is 6 to 8 slices of bacon chopped. Once it gets crispy, then we're going to put in these other ingredients. So like I said, I'm going to use some ghee instead of the fatty bacon. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon. So I'm going to come off my spoon today. Put about a tablespoon in there. And it'll just take a moment for that to melt. And then, as I mentioned, since I'm not using quote-unquote real bacon, it's just that I'm not frying it. I'm still using real bacon. This is a great value brand. Hormel makes a great one. We bought a generic one from Costco the other day. So there's a lot of great good ones out there. There's a pocket in the bag, and so you can look and see what it looks like. You don't want to use bacon bits. You definitely still want real bacon. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more ghee. Because remember, I want it to resemble the grease of about 6 to 8 slices of bacon. I was thinking tablespoons enough, and I'm like, bacon makes a lot of grease. So So we ended up adding about 3 tablespoons there. Okay, and we're going to heat that up a little bit because it would have been hot if we did this. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the bacon in first, and it says 6 to 8 slices. And really, who knows how much of this is a slice? I thought they might say on the package, give you kind of a hint, as since we know that this is 11 onions and this is 36 cloves of garlic, but we have no idea how many slices of bacon this is. So I also figured, is there any such thing as too much bacon, Charles?
Never.
Okay, so it is going to change your texture a little bit, so we do want to keep that in mind. So about 6 to 8 slices, it's about 10 ounces of uncooked bacon. Okay, so I probably got a little too much in there, but I think we're going to start with that there.
That'll do.
Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and flavor my ghee with that bacon. And now I'm going to put in the cup of celery. Okay, and in this case we want the celery to get a little bit soft. Okay, get my favorite metal spatula on my Teflon pan. Everybody always teases me about that. So, like I said, we've done the creamy wild rice soup. It says for a Dutch oven. I knew it would all fit in a smaller pan, so I went ahead and did that. And we're sauteing this until the bacon is almost crisp. Of course, we didn't have to do that step. And then we're adding the celery and the sauteing until the bacon is crispy and the celery is soft. Okay, so we're going to let that sit. Now, while that's cooking, we can go ahead and measure out the rest of our items. So we're going to need a 14-ounce package of dry breadcrumbs. Now, I like these sourdough ones. I buy these at Costco. I store them in a gallon size or a gallon and a half size freezer bag between use. Okay, so we're going to need 14 ounces. Breadcrumbs. If you have, if you have like, what's that? Stovetop stuffing. You can use the breadcrumbs from there. You don't have to go buy special breadcrumbs. You can make your breadcrumbs if you like. Pure bread makes fantastic breadcrumbs. I have these left over from a previous engagement. So again, we're making sure our scale's at 0. We're going to add the device that we're going to measure in, and we're going to make this back at 0 again. And we need 14 ounces of breadcrumbs. Now, Charles always talks about volume. How do you say that, Charles?
Volume versus weight. We use ounces, the word ounces, to describe 2 different things.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of confusing. So this morning I was like, oh no, which way is it? And so you can tell here because it says net weight 32 ounces, right, Charles? So in this case, it's going to be by weight.
Exactly.
Okay. I always get that a little mixed up sometimes. So we're going to need 14 ounces.
Didn't you just put them?
What?
Oh, never mind. One more.
Oh, look at that. How lucky can we be? So we need 14 ounces of breadcrumbs. So we're going to set those here. Let's come back and stir our celery up. This always has a nice aroma. Now, some of you are probably thinking, wait, Mom always put onions in there and got the onions in there. Remember, we put the onion in the creamy wild rice soup. So if you wanted to add some onions here for texture, absolutely you can do that. I would use a small onion. I wouldn't use a whole onion because you just want it for texture. Because you've got to remember, you don't want to throw your ratios off too much or you might dry out your dressing. So let's see how soft our celery is getting. And it's almost there. So we're going to go ahead and measure out. This has a half a cup of dried dried cranberries, craisins. The particular brand I buy calls it craisins. And again, I buy it by a big package here. So I put it in some Tupperware to keep it fresh. And so we got a half a cup. I'm gonna put that in. So now our celery is where it's supposed to be, and so now it's saying add the celery saute and soften the bacon until the bacon's crispy and the celery soft. We did that. And in a large bowl, and I didn't get quite enough large bowl because we're going to combine the dry ingredients. This potato salad bowl today, but today it's a dressing bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a large bowl, we're going to combine the breadcrumbs, the cranberries, and we're going to also combine, do this really quick. Now we're going to go ahead, make sure I turn my soup on, turn my soup off, and we're going to go ahead and combine this in here as well. And if you're using a rubber spatula like I am, you make sure it's very quickly off of the heat of the surface, otherwise it's going to dry. You're going to possibly melt your spatula.
Well, and don't those Pampered Chef spatulas, they have a temperature on the handle, don't they, that they're able to handle?
I don't know. Oh. This isn't a Pampered Chef
spatula,
so I don't.
Never mind.
Charles is so used to me having Pampered Chef. Okay, so then, and we're going to go ahead and combine the soup mixture. So I'm going to stir it one more time here. This is Pampered Chef, Charles.
Oh.
He teases me because sometimes he thinks it's a Pampered Chef ad, but I do love Pampered Chef. They have a lot of really nice things. So because this doesn't have the oil in it, I don't have to worry so much about burning the spatula in there. And we're going to get all of this goodness out of here. And I have to move to a counter that I can reach.
That smells good.
Yeah, it does. There's also a recipe online where you can do this in a crock pot. And so sometimes that's quite nice because we don't always have enough oven space, particularly come Thanksgiving time. And then some things get one temperature, another thing gets another temperature, and it makes it quite difficult. And so we'll do a staging this afternoon. One of the episodes today we'll do a kind of a staging. Actually, I won't do that because it's not quite fair. I have 3 ovens, so that won't quite work. But you have to remember that your turkey, when it comes out of the oven, it's usually at about 325, 350, and it needs to set for a little bit. Now, it only needs to set for about a half hour. So that's enough time for your green bean casserole and usually your dressing. Your dressing may take a little bit more, about 45 minutes. So some people have a taller oven. My oven's not as tall as some because I have a side-by-side oven. Or you can use the crock pot. You can also use, we have one of these, I've got my snack here for breakfast. We have one of these convection ovens also. Okay, so we're gonna mix this all together. You can see it's nice and moist. You wanna make sure that it is nice and moist. Okay, I'm gonna grab the recipe really quick. Hopefully that won't show too much steam on there. You can actually see the goodness there. So let's see here. So we've mixed it all together, tossed it, you put in the salt and pepper if desired. Now this talks about going ahead and heat and cooking it at this time, but I don't want it to cook yet. But I am gonna go ahead and transfer it to a 13x9 pan, and now this says about 30 minutes, so this would be perfect to put it in about the same time your turkey's coming out. It says 30 minutes covered and then 10 to 15 minutes uncovered. So the turkey has to sit, is it 30 minutes before you carve it?
At least 30 minutes. It's okay if the turkey gets a little cool as long as it doesn't get dry.
Right, and how long does it take you to normally carve a turkey?
I don't know, 15, 20 minutes depending on the turkey.
Okay, so that's gonna be just about perfect timing, okay? So you want a greased pan. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. Now I'm not gonna cover this with foil yet because I want some of the heat to, I want it to cool down a little bit before I put the foil on it. Otherwise, it might make the dressing a little dry. Oh, that looks really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
You kind of want to make it even out. Now, some people like to serve the dressing in the pan or the stuff. It's really, I did say dressing, right? Some people like to serve it in the pan that you're cooking in, so you get that crispiness on top. Where if you're going to transfer it to a bowl, you don't have that. So you need to keep that in mind when you're putting it in the pan you're cooking it in, to make sure that you have a basket you can put in. Charles, you want to come over to these baskets here? So these baskets are the ones I use most frequently. There's ones for the loaf pan and one for the 8x8 pan, and I have another one that's for this pan as well. And then also make sure that there's handles so they can pass it. Now the basket I have for this fits quite nicely on this, but this one has silicone handles, so it's going to keep it cool when people are passing. Or if you're doing potluck, then you don't have to worry about, I mean not potluck, but a buffet, you don't have to worry about that quite so much. So we're going to transfer this over to our cooling rack. I think there's room here next to the pie. I'm going to take the pie off the cooling rack because it no longer needs to be on that. And I remember last night when I made this, I said, oh, it was a little full. Well, I tipped it and spilt a little when I put it in the oven. I didn't realize I did. You could always pull the tray out, the oven shelf out, and I didn't do that, and I should have done that so I didn't spill, but that's okay, it'll be good.
It's homemade cooking.
That's right, that's right. Okay, so.
If you want a perfect pie, you get a store-bought.
I'm sorry?
If we want a perfect pie, you get a store-bought.
No, you have to go to like Mike Callender's or.
That's what I'm saying.
Or Julian Pie Shop. I don't think you can get a store-bought pie. Well, I guess you could get one of the frozen ones and do it that way. Yeah. But I laugh because a lot of the bakeries, their pies are not as good as everybody thinks they are, but that's fine. So now that's it for the stuffing. So I want to show you one more thing and I didn't tell Charles we were going to do this. I remember we had started our dressing last night, and so we put the cherries in the Zinfandel sauce. I'm going to move this over here because Charles, I want to move it to, I'm going to put it to another bowl so I can chop it. That's probably a better one. As remember, the recipe called for cherry Zinfandel, which is a sauce that Taste Central doesn't make anymore. I looked for it online. I looked for it at the store, and I couldn't find something that I thought was the same. And so we took dried cherries and soaked them in the Zinfandel overnight. But I want this to be finer because the sauce had chunks in it, but it was a sauce. And remember, this is going to be our dressing, and this is splattering all over. So be careful, Charles. I think this is going to be quite nice because we're going to be mixing this with the Vidalia onion salad dressing to make our dressing. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So let me find that recipe. So this is the cherry Vidalia winter salad recipe, and so it was a 1/4 cup of Zinfandel sauce. I need to get a knife for this. The pull tab just wasn't pulling on for me. Okay, so it's a 1/4 cup of cherry Zinfandel sauce, which we kind of made our own today. And then you're going to want a 1/3 cup of Vidalia onion salad dressing. Even if it looks blended, your dressings, you should always shake them because they do tend to separate even if they don't look they're separated. So we're going to need a 1/3 cup. This one, the 1/3 cup, is if you're left-handed. We're going to mix this together. And this is going to be our salad dressing, okay? And it needs to get a little happy. But because kind of I'm doing an experiment, I'm gonna go ahead and taste this to see if this is gonna work, if I may have to make another salad dressing. That's pretty darn good. You want to taste, Charles?
There's nothing in it that's bad.
What?
There's nothing in it that's bad, so it's gonna work.
Well, but since I...
Yeah. Mmm.
It's pretty good, huh? So I'm gonna go ahead and let this set. I'm gonna let this set and get happy. I'm gonna put it in the fridge. I think there's room in here now. Okay, so our dressing is done. Our salad's done, because all we have to do is toss it with the salad, and then we're gonna add the pecans and the craisins, which is quite easy. We'll do that in a little while, and I'll show you how to do that kind of ahead of time. And so I think we're done with this video, and we'll come back in a moment and we'll make the green bean casserole. Thanks so much, and happy Thanksgiving.